All right. The second flip side to constructive problem solving that makes a good manager is aggressive proaction. And I touched a little bit on this when I was talking about the touch points with people that are fresh out of training. You give them the call first thing in the morning, hey, how's it going? Even if they haven't even told you how their shows are going just yet, just to check up on them and make sure their day is going well. You're doing things proactively. But even more important than that, there are three kinds of things that are going to come across any manager's plate. There are things that are urgent, but not important. There are things that are important, but not urgent. And there are things that are important and urgent. Where is a bad manager going to spend the majority of their time?
Urgent.
No, important, urgent, but not important. Urgent, but not important. People who are doing things that are urgent but not important are the people that are sitting on their cell phone like, oh my God, I got to do this email, and then fix this email, and do my little emailing thing. And they're missing the fact that their trainee isn't learning what they need to be learning right now. And their trainee learning what they need to be learning right now is both important and urgent. You know, you can save Facebook, save your little personal email ding-dong doodads, you know? Save the bill collectors that are calling you to deal when you're off of work time. Things that are urgent but not important should never, ever, ever be a manager's priority. Aggressive proaction is taking time for the things that are important but are not urgent. If everybody remembers, just before February hit, I sent out an email, and in the email I explained that the new business year starts February 1st, and I asked everybody to give me your resolutions for the year. Natalie, do you remember what your resolution was?
Yeah.
What was your resolution?
To find time for myself once a day.
Good. What was your other resolution?
And my other resolution was to not self-discuss stuff.
What was your first resolution? Your first resolution was 100 reps by the end of the year.
Oh yeah, that's right, it is.
So Natalie needs to be taking time
Yeah.
to work towards that big old goal. Because
Yeah.
if she does not take time to work towards that big old goal, it's never going to happen.
Right.
Even though 100 reps isn't going to be built overnight,
Right.
she needs to make sure that she's taking time to do things proactive, aggressively. Dustin, do you remember what your New Year's resolution was, first and foremost?
I wanted 3 people to tell me I saved their lives with this job.
Yep. And how's that been going?
I got 1 so far.
You got 1 so far. That's a pretty good resolution. Anybody else
Yes.
remember their resolutions? Yep. Chad Bender, what was your resolution?
Take at least 1 day off a week.
Take at least 1 day off a week. How's that been going?
It's delicious.
Actually, as a manager, I'd say it's both important and urgent. Another resolution that I can think of that was important but not urgent, John Yanez said that he wants to make New York City run like a well-oiled machine, so he can have as many representatives as possible but not have his brain explode. That's something that's important but not urgent, building a system for yourself. Things that are important but not urgent was me trying to get to the position where I am today. And the fact that I took time to try to develop a system. Like,
From day one.
from day one. And now here I am today standing in front of you preaching my teachings. Because I took time for the things that are important but not urgent. So when it comes to problem solving and aggressive proaction, there is a method that I like to employ because it's simple, easy to remember, and easy to catch yourself and say, am I following this? No, I'm not. Okay, let's reapproach this. Am I following this? Yes, good. Let's take action. It's ready, aim, fire. I'm going to be going into what each of these mean. There is no such thing as a problem without a solution. But what ready, aim, fire really keeps us from doing is becoming spineless leaders. People who only take the time to ready and aim and never do, and then send me or Chad some little text message about so-and-so that's not showing up to the shifts on time. Figure it out yourself, really. Like, we've got whole market issues to deal with. Figure it out and take action yourself. Fire. People who are spineless leaders are always just thinking and complaining, but never, ever doing. We need to find our solutions to our problems and take action. The first step is ready. Ready is gathering as much information as you can on a problem or a goal that you have, as much information as you possibly can, and laying it out in a clear, organized manner. You also want to get the underlying truth. What I mean by that is what Andrew was saying. You're going to look for the cause of your problems, not the symptom. And lay that information out. You don't have to do it on paper, but you can do it in your mind. In addition to gathering, what's that?
No, don't worry about it, I'll write it down.
Okay, beautiful. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. In addition to gathering and assessing all the available information, you need to ask yourself if this is really something that you should be focusing on right now. So, things that are urgent and important need to be handled by you, and they need to be handled by you now. If you need to get your empty boxes, then it needs to be handled by you, and it needs to be handled by you now. If you've sent one little email to Noreen and she hasn't done something about it, you need to get her to do something about it, and you need to get her to do something about it now. You don't leave a voicemail at 10 p.m. at night on a Friday and think that you're magically going to have boxes by Monday. If it's something that's important but not urgent, again, these are the things that we always forget to take time out to do that really make us successful managers in the long run. Those long-term goals. And lastly, things that are urgent but not important. Can anybody give me an example of something that does actually apply to work that may be considered urgent but not important? Yes?
I think taking care of like a storage unit situation where you have a lot of repack boxes and need to be done, that's pretty urgent because agents will be going to that storage unit to get stock. But is it the most important thing if stock is getting shipped to the stores? No. But does it really need to be taken care of? Yes.
Yeah. And so what would you do with something that's urgent but not important?
Delegate.
Delegate the responsibilities. You should never, ever, ever be doing something that's urgent but not important. If it needs to get done, delegate the responsibilities. Put faith in your teammates to be able to do it for you. Because by putting faith in teammates to do the simple things, you're teaching them to become managers themselves eventually by just being able to do something outside of the norm, outside of just pitching. You know? They're showing that they're motivated and committed to the organization. After you've gathered and you've assessed all of the information, and you've spent a little bit of time thinking about that information, really finding what the symptoms to the problems are, you're going to aim. Aim can also be considered term, really, at the end of the day. If you're talking a big picture thing, let's talk, for example, when I went to Maryland and I visited quite a few of these representatives that were just tanking. And it was really, really depressing because these representatives were putting up their shows every 40 minutes. They were going up there with these big smiles on their face and like really with this great positive energy in their shows. And they had a great attitude about their job, but they were tanking, doing one-piece turns and blanks constantly because the trainer decided to give them the wrong script. And it got to the point where these people were ready to jump ship. They really were ready to leave the company. But I walked into the store and I spied on them and I saw that they were doing their job at the end of the day. Their trainer just hadn't done their job. So I said, how do I fix this? How do I get them to love this company and to commit themselves to this company for a period of time? Well, first and foremost, I showed them just a little bit of how my training could support them. But I gave them a big picture. I sold them a dream of becoming a trainer. Becoming a trainer that's always going to be a six-figure position for you if you're actually doing your job. And then I painted the vision for them. So what I mean by that is if you think of, if you've ever done any sort of scenic design or artistic design, what you've done first is you've made your painting, and after you've made your painting, you've made your blueprint so people knew actually how to build it. So I'm going to sell you the dream of how awesome it is to be a manager. I'm going to sell you the dream of where this company's going, of what your paychecks can be, and then I'm going to paint you the vision or draft you the blueprints of how to get to that dream. And at the end of the day, that's really what the majority of our turns are as managers. As a motivator, first and foremost. And if a job is too big for just you, take people with you. Take people with you. Take people with you. I would not be here if I didn't have John Yanez, who really is, I would say, one of the top 3 managers in the company right now, to take my place. How many trainers here are from New York? You've got 3 trainers in the room, and Peter as well. There are 4 people in these rooms that I've taken with me, and I've lifted with me because I started delegating responsibilities to them, and they started proving themselves. It started with Leo and John. Whenever I would have a training group, I'd always pop them right next to me into the PM shifts, or I'd have them popo alongside my trainees, and oh my God, they were doing terrific. And Allison Kleinman, who suddenly started pitching knives and was a monster, and it said, oh my God, yeah, I forgot this girl was capable, and instantly, I knew that she needed to be a PDM. Adam Hadass, who always had a solution. When he had a problem, he never complained, but he always proposed solutions to me and was willing to put in the work himself to get what he needed done. Always delegate responsibilities whenever possible when it comes to doing your turn. And the last step of Ready, Aim, Fire is firing. Now what happens, say you become a new manager of a market and you find that nobody in this market has ever been submitting availability, ever. How do you get them to do it? Do you just send them an email and expect that everybody's going to instantly be sending in their availability every single week? No. You send them a text message. You follow it up, and then what happens if they miss their deadline?
You schedule.
Send them another one.
You send them another text message.
That's my favorite.
Because firing is only 25% of firing is the original execution and the original turn. 75% of firing is following up.
And a good example of that actually comes from Rick. It just came to my mind. When he was doing New York as just the DM at the time, he sent out an email that said, hey everybody, this is the new woo-foo for scheduling, this is how you're going to do scheduling. And then he sent out a text a couple of times that was like, hey, just a friendly reminder, today is the day that you send in your availability. And he did this for me for 2 or 3 weeks. And then week 4 happened. And even myself totally forgot to send in the thing without the reminder text. And Rick just sent out a schedule. And I was like, oh, I can't work that day. Oh, I have to do that on that day. And Rick was like, well, you should have said something because Friday is submit your schedule day, and no one, I took all the schedule submissions and I made a schedule with it. So there you go. And I was like, but I have to. And he was like, yeah, but you have to go to work, buddy. And I was like, okay, I learned my lesson. You better believe the next week I put in my availability for that week and the week after. I ain't messing around this time. Allison, same thing happened to you, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other examples that you can think in your head where the follow-up is just as important as the original execution?
Touch points with trainees. If you tell them, okay, we're gonna text after every show. They don't text you. You text them, how did it go? Text them again, hey, how did it go? Hey, call me, let me know how it goes. Every time. If they don't give you the answer before, you call them, hey, how did it go?
Exactly. Chip them.
Also,
Andrew Adler, what do you say at the end of every single training call?
what are you going to do to improve your next show?
No, when you're giving an adjustment to one of your trainees.
Oh, call me, let me know how it goes.
Let me know.
Give it to Natalie. Let me know how it goes. Other examples
Hey,
out
you got
there
Alvin in the
of
back with his
follow-up.
hand up this whole time.
Yes, Alvin.
Personal recruits.
Personal recruits.
Personal recruits. You get someone locked in and you get their name and number, send it out to whoever you got to send it out to. Then you call that person back. Did you speak to them? Great. Did you miss the call? If I'm going on both ends. Did you get that email from the name and the number I sent you? Did they call you? And I'm back and forth with both people.
Beautiful.
I told them what to say.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And actually, give him another 1,000 for his recruit this week.
Oh yeah. 2 recruits.
Oh, you got 2 recruits this week? 2 referrals?
If you don't mind if you call out,
Beautiful.
can you say?
You gotta slow down.
This is a follow-up thing. It's actually sort of peripheral to this, but I think just as well. Anytime you've had a problem in the store where the managers are like, you need to stop, your things are too loud, your things are too frequent, this, do it, and you fix it, make sure a show or two later, stop by the managers. Hey, just so you, is that better? Is that better now? Is that a better adjustment? Is that lower? Is that a better volume? Is that a better thing? Just make sure that you're keeping with them and reminding them, I did this thing that you asked me to do.
Yeah.
Even if you don't change anything.
Yep.
I will have a manager be like, oh, blah, 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 you gotta shorten these announcements. And I'll be like, oh, okay, I definitely am gonna do that. I have an alternate valley, I can shorten it by like 35 seconds. And then I go and I do the same exact announcement. I go to the manager, I go, how was that? That was a lot better, wasn't it? I cut it down by a minute, I timed it. And they're like, you cut it down by a minute? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, that's really good. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, great. Thank you. Good.
Now, I'm going to look for a second at not just fire, but the 3 of them together, and where this really applies. So I brought up training calls before. What's the first thing that we do when we answer the phone and somebody's calling for an adjustment? We listen to what they have to say about their last show. We're gathering all of the information. And then what are we doing? We're aiming. So for an example, how I aimed and turned this week is I got a call from somebody in a store who thought that they should shut down their store because they were doing very poorly in the store. And I said, okay, how many training calls have you made today? The answer was 0. So, okay, whatever, let's keep going. There's no need for me to fire at this point. So I made my plan. And I tried to figure out what the problem was. The problem, according to that person, was that it was a very low-income store. So I laid out a bit of my plan in my term. I got all the information about what happened in the last show. The first part of my turn was, the real problem there was the image of the store, right? I figured that out when I was in my ready phase. So the first turn that I laid out is the simple facts that more than 50% of people who buy off of infomercials on TV are of the lowest 25% income bracket.
They're the easiest to determine. Bottom line.
I sell best in ghetto stores.
Me too. Me too.
Oh yeah.
So there's no reason to.
These ain't on stuff shit.
No, you pick these up right here.
And then I gave my adjustment.
Knobs is real soft.
Oh, we
And then I gave my adjustment.
I'm telling you.
And then I gave my adjustment.
Actually get over.
And then I said, call me back. Ready, aim, fire.
What was the middle one you said call me back? I missed that part.
The middle one
You said
is where you lay out your turn.
What did you answer that? What you said something and then you said call me back.
25% of the
Okay, oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I gave my adjustment. Once the image of the store is changed, then you give the adjustment, and then you follow up, and then you say,
How'd it
"Let me
go?
go back." You say, "How'd it go?"
How'd it go?
Close the store.
Now, when you say give me a call back, and I'm just adding this because we're talking about making us all better managers, let's use what Mrs. Dolph said earlier. What did you say, Ms. Dolph, I taught you to do when you have to remember to do something?
Set a reminder on your phone.
So if you give an adjustment and it's someone that's really struggling in a bad store and you're a manager, it'd probably be in your best interest to set your phone at about 30 minutes from the point you had that adjustment so that you can be proactive and get involved to make sure that they haven't slipped back in that slump and that they are actively doing what you said. Because before you know it, the whole day will be over. You sure would have, and then now you're having to fix problems the next day. Whereas if you had that timer, because you're so busy, you're like, beep, 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 beep. Oh, says I'm supposed to call John again. Boom, boom, boom. John, how'd that go? But if you didn't set the reminder, because we get such fast paced, I mean, this happens to me all the time. I have so many conference calls that come in. Every time I get a new one, I set a new timer on my phone, click it, save it, boom, and I'm gone, and I forget about it. And then when the thing goes beep, 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 oh, 6 o'clock, I got that conference call right now. Boom, I call right in, I'm on time, and I look great. Had I not had that timer, I would have forgot about everything. Same thing with adjustment call. All the little things, especially the fire, if you give direct results that need something to be done, you have to set yourself a reminder. Otherwise, if you don't, then you've now put that person in the position that they can walk all over you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Remember that.
Good. So can anybody think of larger examples besides just the training call where Ready, Aim, Fire has been employed in the 3 steps?
The best thing ever was Chad did for me when we were going over payroll, when he was showing me how to do the paperwork at the end. He not only showed me how to do it, he made sure that I did it. He aimed me on how to do it, and then after my pay schedule had come through, he said, "Great, now let's see what you got. Does it match what they had? Okay, good." And then if it didn't, it was one time where it didn't. When you did that whole cycle again with me, did you do it? Okay, let's go over how it should look, how you're going to do it. And what did it match this time? This time it didn't. He was able to be right there when the fire broke out and extinguish a small fire instead of having it being a huge, oh my God, I can't believe what happened. And he did that for me.
Beautiful.
That was awesome.
Beautiful.
No, we'll give him the chip.
In chat? Oh, I'm going to give him one too. Beautiful. Yes, sir.
This was a problem I had that Mr. Giannis came through real well for me. I went to a store, I needed to get stock for the store, I went to a storage unit, there wasn't storage to bring to the storage unit. I called up John, so John took time out of his shift to bring stock from his store. We met at a mutual location that wasn't too out of the way for both of us. He brought me stock and I brought it to the store and it was perfect. So John fielded the concern, instead of like calling tons of people and like closing down a store, opening late. John was like, "No, we can make this happen. It's cool." Because I was a little annoyed, but John totally calmed me down. Totally had an awesome plan to take care of the problem, and he fired, big time fired. I think he should get 2 chips for that.
I think he should too, because he calms down the market all the time.
John Giannis calms down people with his
Including
mustache
me.
alone.
There's one for you. Let's wrap it up with Ms.
You
Smith.
should get 2. Each
I
girl.
I think this applies, like, I was having an issue with it. I had talked actually to both of you about an agent that I had in Kentucky that was just really bad attitude and was really not doing the things he was supposed to be doing, and I ended up having a conversation with him in which I listened to a lot of his frustrations, and a lot of it was how I was communicating with him was not the way that he responded the best to, and I didn't know that about him, so I, spoke with Nicole, and I kind of came up with I have to change the way I'm going to deal with him, and so then from that point on, I am constantly making sure I'm checking in with him and building that relationship again and changing the way I deal with him, which has caused him to now be one of my best loot run people, and the things that he's supposed to be doing are just, it's kind of falling back into place. So.
Good.
He's one of your best
Good.
people.
Yes, ma'am.
One of my best loot people.
I want to look at a time when Ready, Aim, Fire is very useful, but 99% of the time we forget to do it, and that is when we intend to say no to somebody. When Chad Jude asks me to do something that I don't agree with, I don't just fire a no at him. Instead, I gather all of the supporting information I need for my argument, and I lay out a very clear turn for him. And more often than not, and I'll end up saying, I bow to you if it's your way or the highway. But more often than not, he's going to go with a darn good turn that has all of the necessary information behind it. And I ain't covering my ass if I'm not firing on that solution damn well.
It's true.
I mean, my biggest example of ready, aim, fire is Dustin and Jackie taking over the Maryland market.
I love that so much.
It was a 1 week turn for me. It was 3 phone calls talking about Dustin and Jackie, lined up with a 1.5 page email broken up into 10 points as to why I thought they should be put in that position. And he said, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
He gave me all the
And
facts I
believe
needed to
me-
make my own educated decision.
And believe me, I then had to cover my butt and make sure they were doing their job well once I got what I wanted. So when it's time to say no, do not just fire. If you are just firing, the only thing you're doing is whining and complaining. And it's going to get you nowhere. But fired.
It's true.
I see.
Pretty much, Rick's rule of thumb is this: if you're going to tell me no, have 8 supporting reasons of why you're telling me no, and be prepared to come at me that hard.
Yeah, but you got to take those 8 supporting reasons and you have to split them up 2 at a time. Because you're going to tell Chad no with 2 reasons, he's going to tell you no, I want it my way. Then you're going to tell Chad no again with 2 more reasons, he's going to say no, I want it my way. Then you're going to tell Chad no again with 2 more reasons, he's going to say no, I want it my way. And then the last one, maybe you get okay out of him if they're all 8 different reasons over the time of all 4 no's.
It's true. You've got to think about that when you're telling everyone. That includes Mr. Coffee and Mr. Roccaforte, because we have so many hundreds and thousands of issues on our plate on a basis, and if you didn't tell us all the information we needed to make an accurate solution, then we only know what you've told us. Whereas if you're outlining everything like Mr. Coffee said in a 1.5-page long email, you've now told me everything I need to know about the situation. You've done my ready and my aim for me, essentially, is what you've done. You have to do the same thing for him, for Mr. Roccaforte, for myself, for other people too. It all works the same. A turn is a turn. A turn is a turn. A turn is a turn. Everybody's turnable. True or false?
True.
But everybody's turning all the time. That's the
Correct.
thing that we need to appreciate. Like just looking at the course of today, as far as what we're doing with these recruits, like the way we want to retain these people and make our business huge, it's a turn starting right from square one, right from the get-go, right from the ad. I mean, think about with that ad exercise. We were all excited when it sounded rich and full, when we were using really good vocab, when we were challenging them, when we had a certain point to make. You know, like that was, and that's the stuff that people are looking for when they're looking for a job. They want to be turned. Chad actually said something really important to me, and I haven't forgotten it yet. And I was calling him for an adjustment one day, and he was like, "What you need to remember, Pete, is no matter what they do, no matter how skeptical they are, no matter how much from Jersey you think they are, everybody wants to be turned. Everybody likes a good turn." And that's really the core of what we do as people in this company, is we have to turn our recruits to be trainees. We have to turn our trainees to turn into vets. We have to turn our vets into being key staff. We have to turn our key staff into being assistant managers and managers. We have to turn our assistant managers and managers into being regional managers, and so forth and etc. Until this thing is just so big that the people on the top of it are like, oil.
Beautiful.
That's my
Beautiful.
take on it.
That's a good plan. I'm going to use that one day.
What?
The whole thing about building. Yeah, I like that.
Oh, okay, cool. I thought you might like that.
At the end of the day, we are turners, and as managers, more than anybody else in this company, we need to be doers. We need to be willing to fire. We need to be willing to take action. So my question is, who wants this $100 bill? Who wants this $100 bill? Who wants this $100 bill? Somebody did something about it and they got it.
You should have swan dived.
So who's ready to do something?
Wait.
Good. By cutting out the things in your life that are urgent but not important, managers, do you think you can spend the time to get one recruit a week in your market? I'm only asking for one a week. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes. Good. So those of you managers who aren't on salary, you just gave yourself a $400 salary weekly. Those of you that are already getting a salary, you just gave yourself a $900 salary weekly. That's how much money is on the table here. Get 2 trainees in a week. You just made yourself an $800 salary or a $1,300 salary before you put up a single show or collect a single penny in overrides. However, in order to get this, I need y'all to be doers. You can't do it without doing. All right?
All right.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just an
Sit,
exercise.
sit.
Looking at him doing that.
Do it, take it. Spilled Jew blood, it's on your hands.
Yo, I didn't come here for this.
Yeah.